Do Filipinos speak Spanish? Philippines. The Philippines was a former Spanish colony, right? Ho, come they don't speak Spanish. If it was a colony of Spain for 300 years, most Filipinos do not speak or understand Spanish. And the Filipino language is not close enough to Spanish for significant mutual comprehension. Though there are many loan words from Spanish and some grammatical influence. Only about 2 to 4% of the Philippines' population are proficient in Spanish during the period of Spanish colonization, 1565 to 1898. Spanish served as the language of government, trade, education, and the arts. The establishment of a free public education system by the colonial government in the mid-19th century led to the formation of a class of native Spanish-speaking intellectuals known as the Ilustrados. Essay historical figures, including José Rizal, Antonio Luna, and Marcelo del Pilar, were conversant in Spanish. By the end of Spanish rule, only a minority of the total population had knowledge of the language after the Philippines gained independence in 1946. Spanish remained an official language alongside Filipino and English. The American government gradually promoted the use of English, characterizing Spanish as a negative influence of the past. By the 1920s, English had become the primary language of administration and education. Despite efforts to learn or revive Spanish, its presence in daily life continued to decline, and today, it is no longer widely used. So, while the Philippines has a rich historical connection to Spanish, the language itself has faded from common use over time. After gaining independence in 1946, the Philippines chose to adopt English as one of its official languages for several reasons. 1. American influence, during the period of American colonization. 1898 to 1946, the United States established English as the primary language of education, administration, and governance. The American government introduced an extensive public education
1. System that used English as the medium of instruction. As a result, English proficiency became widespread among Filipinos. After the Spanish-American War in 1898, the Philippines came under American rule. The Americans introduced English as the medium of instruction in schools, replacing Spanish. This led to a shift in language preference among Filipinos towards English. 2. Economic and trade considerations, English was, and still is, a global language of commerce, science, and technology. By adopting English, the Philippines aimed to participate more effectively in international trade, attract foreign investment, and engage with the global community. English proficiency facilitated communication with other English-speaking countries. 3. National unity. The Philippines is a diverse archipelago with numerous regional languages and dialects. Choosing a single national language was challenging due to linguistic diversity. English served as a neutral bridge language that allowed Filipinos from different regions to communicate effectively. It helped unify the country by providing a common means of communication. 4. Legacy of Spanish. While Spanish had historical significance as the language of colonial rule, it was no longer widely spoken by the time of independence. Only a small educated elite remained proficient in Spanish. Additionally, the negative perception of Spanish colonialism influenced the decision to prioritize English over Spanish. 5. Educational system. English proficiency was essential for Filipinos seeking higher education or employment opportunities abroad. Many Filipinos pursued further studies in English-speaking countries, and English proficiency was a valuable skill in a globalized world. During the American colonial period, English became the language of education and governance. The American administrators saw English as a tool for modernization and integration into the global economy, so they actively promoted its use over Spanish.
6. Shift in cultural influence. The American cultural influence was strong during The early 20th century, especially through media, literature, and popular culture. Hollywood movies, American literature, and music contributed to the prominence of English. 7. Independence movement. The movement for independence from colonial rule also played a role. 8. Limited spread. While Spanish was the language of administration and elite circles during the Spanish colonial period, its use was not as widespread among the general population. It mainly remained confined to certain urban areas and among the Spanish-educated elite. 9. Languages diversity. The Philippines is linguistically diverse, with numerous indigenous languages spoken across the archipelago. After independence, efforts were made to promote the use of Filipino, based on Tagalog, as the national language to unify the country. Spanish did not play a significant role in this process. Today, Spanish is no longer widely spoken in the Philippines. While some Spanish words and phrases have been integrated into Filipino languages, particularly Tagalog, Spanish itself is not commonly used in daily communication. However, there are still some communities and families who retain Spanish language. Skills and efforts to preserve and revive Spanish culture and language are ongoing in certain areas. While Spanish is not widely spoken across the Philippines, there are still communities and families, especially in areas with strong Spanish influence, who speak Spanish at home. Here are a few reasons for this. 1. Heritage and tradition. Some Filipino families have maintained Spanish language skills as part of their cultural heritage and identity. This is particularly true for families with Spanish ancestry or those who have strong ties to Spanish culture. 2. Education and interest.
2. There are Filipinos who actively learn Spanish either through formal education or self-study due to personal interest, professional reasons, or as a means of connecting with their country's colonial history. 3. Geographical factors. Regions with stronger historical ties to Spanish colonization, such as parts of Luzon and Visayas, may have higher concentrations of Spanish speakers or communities where Spanish is still spoken or understood. 4. Religious influence. Some religious orders in the Philippines, such as the Augustinians and Dominicans, have historical ties to Spain. Members of these orders may still use Spanish in their religious ceremonies or teachings. 5. Tourism and trade. In areas with significant tourism or trade connections to Spanish-speaking countries, there may be a greater presence of Spanish speakers or a demand for Spanish language skills in business interactions. English proficiency has significantly impacted the job market in the Philippines in several ways. 1. Outsourcing and call centers. The Philippines has become a top hub for outsourcing and call center services due to its high English proficiency. Filipino professionals actively participate in international business, technology, and tourism, contributing to economic growth and global integration. 2. Career advancement. English language proficiency correlates strongly with career advancement, especially in sectors where English is the primary medium of communication. Proficiency in English provides an advantage in job opportunities and promotions. 3. Education and economic opportunities. English proficiency is vital for industries such as call centers, ESL schools, and technology. However, a decline in English proficiency over the years has affected educational performance in subjects like mathematics and science. 4. Social mobility and inequality. While English offers social privileges and access to global markets, it also perpetuates systematic social inequalities.
In summary, English proficiency plays a crucial role in shaping career prospects, economic opportunities, and social mobility in the Philippines. However, addressing disparities in education and promoting equitable access to quality learning materials remains essential for a more inclusive job market. While Tagalog is the basis for the Filipino national language, it's important to note that not all Filipinos speak Tagalog as their primary language. The Philippines is a linguistically diverse country with numerous languages spoken across its different regions. Here's some information on the languages spoken in the Philippines, including Spanish, English, and Tagalog. 1. Tagalog/Filipino *. Tagalog is the basis for the Filipino national language, Filipino. It is spoken as a first language by a significant portion of the population, particularly in the central and southern parts of Luzon, including Metro Manila. Filipino, which incorporates elements from other Philippine languages, is taught in schools and used as the medium of instruction in education and government. 2. English English is one of the official languages of the Philippines and is widely used in business, education, government, and the media. It is taught as a second language in schools and is spoken fluently by a significant portion of the population, especially in urban areas and among the educated elite. English proficiency in the Philippines is relatively high compared to many other countries in Asia. 3. Spanish *. While Spanish is not as widely spoken as Tagalog or English, there are still communities and families, especially in certain regions, who speak Spanish at home. Spanish is more commonly spoken among Filipinos of Spanish descent or those with strong ties to Spanish culture and heritage. Efforts to preserve and revive Spanish language and culture are ongoing, particularly in areas with historical Spanish influence. 4. Other Philippine languages.
The Philippines is home to over 170 languages, with each ethnic group typically having its own language or dialect. Some of the major regional languages include Cebuano, Ilocano, Hiligaynon, Ilonggo, Wari, Bicolano, and Kapampangan, among others. These languages are spoken as first languages by various ethnic groups across different regions of the country. Data specifically quantifying the number of Filipinos who speak each language may vary and can be challenging to obtain comprehensively due to the country's linguistic diversity.